Hello friends, I am here to take up one of the most important subjects for GATE examination, and the subject is environmental engineering. Environmental engineering. The subject basically deals with interaction between the human life, to be particular, and the environment surrounding the human life. Both kind of have a symbiosis. In different words, we can say each is dependent on the other. The humans survive and sustain based on various environmental factors. That means the life of humans is very much influenced by the environment surrounding them. Whereas the humans in turn also help sustain the environment. So there is always a continuous interaction between the humans and the environment. And precisely this becomes the objective of the subject environmental engineering. In this subject, we will be talking about a couple of different topics. I mean, they are subjects on their own, but I'll call them as topics, in which we have about 5 different topics, majors, to deal with. The subject basically has a weightage of about anywhere between 10 to 13 marks if you talk about the GATE examination. For GATE, the weightage is anywhere between 10 to 13 marks. And the subject covers water supply engineering, so as you can see in this subject, the major thrust is on water that exists before consumption and water that becomes bad after consumption. So we have 2 majors here. One is water supply engineering, and the second part of this subject is wastewater engineering. These two together comprise the most part of environmental engineering. In addition to this, we also have a couple of other topics, which includes the management of solid waste, and we have to study 2 different types of pollution, that includes air pollution and its control. Not only we are going to study on how the air is polluted, but also the means of controlling, preventing, or probably carrying out some repair of the environment as far as air is concerned. And the last would be about the noise pollution and its control. So as you can see, we have this to study under the subject of environmental engineering. As far as the first topic is concerned, water supply engineering, it is the major chunk of the total weightage. It can be anywhere between 5 to 7 marks out of the total of let's say a maximum of 13, around 13, that is averaged out based on the previous so many years. The wastewater engineering, we can expect anywhere between 3 to 5 marks. And the remaining 3, so as you can see, the first 2 itself is somewhere around 9 or 10 marks. Whereas the remaining 3, you can expect anywhere between 1 to 3 marks. So this is what we have under the subject of environmental engineering, specifically for the GATE examination. When we go through all these topics or the majors, we can see that we are basically talking about resources. And the most important resource for the survival of mankind is water. Under this subject, we are mainly concerned about the development of the sources, sources of water. We are going to conserve, we are going to understand about how to conserve these resources. And later, we shall also see the engineering involved, wherein the water resource is taken for consumption, which goes through various stages and finally reaches the consumer. From the source to the consumer becomes the domain of water supply engineering. Whereas once the water is consumed, it becomes waste. It is wasted because energy can neither be created nor destroyed. So that kind of concept applies here also. The water that is consumed is later wasted, and this water which is wasted and aptly called as wastewater becomes a problem to the environment unless it is handled carefully. So the scope of wastewater engineering consists of collection and conveyance and later final safe disposal of wastewater. The wastewater is finally disposed of again back mainly into the sources. So what we have here is a vicious cycle of the water resource, wherein the subject or the story starts from the source of water. It travels through various stages and finally reaches back to the source again. This is what is studied exhaustively in these two. I can say they are the subjects by themselves: water supply engineering and wastewater engineering. So it's a continuous cycle, and we mainly talk about water. So, talking about the objectives of wastewater engineering, we shall now enumerate the objectives of environmental engineering. The various objectives of environmental engineering include The first one being, we have to protect the humans from environmental factors. So it's about creating a safe surrounding or safe environment so that the humans can survive. And in this context, we are talking about the main resource called water. And when we say resource stands for a material which provides energy to the humans. That is called as resource. So the first objective of environmental engineering deals with how to protect humans, or rather how to safeguard the human life from the various environmental agencies or the environmental factors which tend to affect the health of the humans. And in this context, we are only focusing on water. How the quality of water may be affected by the environment, and later how to safeguard, how to make the water safe for human consumption. So this becomes the first objective of environmental engineering. The second objective is in contrast to this. As I have mentioned earlier, it's a case of a symbiosis between human life and environment in which they stay. Each one depends on the other for their proper survival. The first part, as I just mentioned, is how to protect the humans from the environmental agencies. And the second part would be to preserve or to protect the environment from human actions. So the environment in turn has to also be protected. And out of all the living species, if at all any species can damage the environment to a significant scale, is the human beings. So here we have to understand both. We need to see that the cycle runs without any problem. The humans survive in the environment they are given in safely and comfortably. At the same time, the environment is also maintained conducive or safe for the survival of the human beings. It is clear from these two objectives that the first objective becomes the domain for water supply engineering. What we study in water supply engineering, it is focused mainly on providing a good quality water based on the need for the humans. So it's a safe quality, means that which does not affect the health of the human beings. The water might be affected, might become unsafe. So we have to make the unsafe water, which might be harmful for the humans, make it safe. That is engineering. Engineering is all about providing solutions. And the solution here is to make the unsafe water safe so that the humans can conveniently consume that for their survival. The second objective is about protecting the environment from human actions. And here, out of all the factors or the actions that a human can have on the environment, we are going to study about water that is wasted by the humans. This waste water, unless it is made harmless, wastewater contains a lot of impurities which can not only affect the environment, it can in turn affect the human themselves. So this water which is wasted, which contains lots of different impurities in it, has to be toned down, has to be made safe so that it can be recycled if possible. At the same time, it is safe on the environment, it is soft on the environment. So the environment is also protected, and this is what we are going to study precisely in wastewater engineering. So these two becomes the objectives of environmental engineering. As far as solid waste management is concerned, in the objectives, it's also mentioned that the humans do contribute a lot of waste, not just wastewater, but waste in the form of solids. This solid waste has to be properly classified, understood, and later we will study the solutions that might be necessary, or the corrections that might be necessary to make this solid waste into a safer form before disposing it off. So solid waste management is nothing but it deals with how to handle the waste generated by, of course, the human beings. Handle in the sense collecting it, classifying it, understanding whether it is inorganic, organic, separating it, and then making these two types of solid waste, inorganic as well as organic, into a safer form before we dispose it off in various ways. So that is studied through solid waste management. Another resource that is required for the survival of human beings is oxygen. In other terms, air, atmosphere. The human actions in the survival, we tend to produce such impurities which affect the quality of air. And if the quality of air is affected, it becomes difficult for the human to survive. In the process, the environment gets damaged. And when I say environment, part of that is the atmosphere that we live in, or rather the biosphere where we survive. So we will understand how the air quality is affected, or rather air is polluted, so that we can take necessary precautions as well as provide necessary solutions to repair or to bring back the quality of air to the safe standards, such that the environment becomes pleasant to live in. This aspect is dealt in the topic air pollution and its control. And finally, we can conclude the subject through another topic, that is noise pollution and control. For the life of a human being to be, pleasant, or if the psychology of the humans has to be good. One of the factors that affects the ambience surrounding the humans is the sound. Nowadays, a lot of technological advances have taken place, due to which a lot of noise is being generated, and this affects the well-being of the humans. So I was just mentioning about the well-being of the humans. The well-being of the humans is also affected by the ambience surrounding it. The ambience is greatly affected by the noise, and hence it is the duty of the environmental engineer to understand as to what is causing, what are the various factors that are affecting the ambience or the immediate environment surrounding the humans, in terms of how the sound quality turns bad. We call it as noise, how a sound is polluted. And later, once we understand the science behind the factors affecting the quality of sound, then we can easily understand as to how this can be prevented or corrected, so that we can provide a good environment for the humans to live in. So majorly, we can see through this discussion that for the human life to be in harmony with the environment, we need to take care of the various resources that are necessary for the survival of humans. Out of that, we shall be focusing mainly on water, air, and sound, in addition to the solid waste. So this is the scope of the subject environmental engineering, which is probably the second most subject which has weightage for GATE examination. So having gone through the domain of environmental engineering, we shall now take up the first part of environmental engineering, and that is water supply engineering.